so much for coming. Who can tell what's Damiana and what's Ganja at a glance? I've had trouble all day and now I'm feeling dizzy. No. Anyway, there's been lots of police on the roads. I really appreciate everyone coming. It shows how much people feel about the issue. Us hippies here in Nimbin, I've been here 30 years now, and Paul Joseph up the end here, one of the originators, was very passionate about the police this morning, mate. I feel too weary to even get angry. And the police have been, in the majority, very courteous, I've found, or I've been told.
No running away food.
I know you'd be screaming at me if that wasn't generally true. I don't blame them, you know. I just think it's absolute overkill. I think we had 6 police last year. This year, I bet there's more than 60. They brought 6 horses with riot gear on. Mate, this is hippies having a riot. Thank you, Ganja Faeries. Faeries, I love it. Mate, they smoked a lot of pot. If the poor police and the politicians, mate, there must be sniffer dogs at Parliament House. If they smoked a bit of pot, I think they'd understand cannabis is not really the right drug. They're doing their best with prohibition to turn us into it. And one of the big causes, I reckon, is pot stinks, you know. You smoke a bong and it stinks. So all the bongs went down the creek over MardiGrass. They don't necessarily stop. You know, everything just goes underground a bit. Us hippies, we can adapt. It's one thing we've always been able to do. We've had a hard time for a long time, mate. We'll outlive the lot of them. I can't remember the other thing, that bloody Damiana, mate. Anyway, I don't want to blame the police. I do have a message for Thomas George, our local member of Parliament, mate. If we got to ask for help, we got to go to Thomas. He's a Lebanese, he's a good guy, he ran a pub. You know, in Lebanon, hash is their drug, mate. Yeah. Mate, he knows the culture. The poor bugger's trapped in a National Party body. He's trapped. He told Parliament Nimbin's the next riot after Cronulla and Macquarie Fields. Mate, I reckon the poor old coppers have sent up a huge team because they don't get out of the office much. They're very busy. They're not sure what's happening in Nimbin, and we have got it all on camera, but maybe it's all, maybe they're doing it down the back. Anyway, I don't think they understand. I don't want to get angry about it. I really appreciate that the police have been courteous here. I reckon they need letters. I reckon we need to stand up. It's worth putting it in print because the political process is so shallow, it runs on letters to the editor and headlines, mate. It's pathetic. How does a community get heard? For 5 years, good people in the town have asked for a few police walking the beat. We've had heaps lately, in overalls and guns. They are going to change Nimbin culture. They won't get rid of us, but what they do when they persecute pot, which is in the marketplace with all the other drugs nowadays, and there's a new generation out there who'll drop a bit of acid or snort a bit of ice. No one finds that because it doesn't smell like cannabis, or it's not that natural, beautiful, herbal thing, mate. Hey! Had to get Jungle Patrol to clean up the lane last night because they thought all the kids were going to throw the cans at them. You know, they've got right instructions. It's in a manual. It had someone in Canberra wrote it, I'll betcha. Anyway, I'm going to introduce you to a couple of people. I'll rave all day, mate. And Paul Joseph. Let's start. There's one good idea that came out of the police. We will adapt. Next year, we're going to have cake competitions. Mate, no one's to use anything with cannabis in it, of course. We'll have Damiana cakes. We'll have all sorts of cakes, mate. I think we bring cakes into it next year, big time. And a very good thing that the police did help with, we have broken the world record for the most number of joints ever lit at once. 327. Paul Joseph, come on. This is Paul Joseph. He was one of the founders of the Nimbin alternative movement back in the Aquarius Festival days. He was upset at the number of police here, sort of threatening the culture, I reckon. One of the good things about being an Aussie is if you're lucky you get to own a bit of dirt, mate. We ain't leaving. Here's Paul Joseph.
Thank you. I don't know how many of you know it, but this week we're celebrating the 33rd anniversary of the Aquarius Festival. 33 years ago, on the 12th of May, we had an amazing time in this very spot. And we're celebrating that next week at the Channon Market, along with the 25th anniversary of the Chai Tent, which is just as very recent as Easter, been down at Lake Cowell and supporting the action down there. It's really important times that we're looking over this great expanse of time of what it is that we're celebrating here, and it hit me today what that's all about. Over this weekend I've really felt this impingement on what I think is the most precious thing about being in Nimbin, and that's the sense of freedom. We've had that since the very first moment we came here. I've got a letter from the one policeman that was in the town when we first came and asked if we could have a festival in this town. And he couldn't make it to the meeting of the Progress Association and wrote that if we missed this opportunity to have a festival, Nimbin would really regret it. So we thank that policeman very much. Thank you, Bob Marsh. He was a great and wise man and a great member of this community, and the great thing that we experienced here was this incredible friendliness that was natural to being in the country. And to me last night I felt a bit intimidated walking along the street, seeing police in rows of 6 and trying to look obscure, and in horses doing parades, and I felt it took me back, deja vu, to the reason that I first left the city, which was in 1968, and I was a folk singer on the back of a truck in front of 5,000 people in the moratorium. And it was an amazing moment because that year there'd been people killed, young people like us, students killed. There'd been Martin Luther King killed. There'd been Bob Kennedy killed. All in that year. It was a really frightening time. We felt the world was coming on top of us. And at this amazing time in this moratorium, everybody there with great smiles and friendliness, and the police came out, formed a wedge and went in violently, knocking people to the ground. To me, I couldn't live in a culture like that, and I've never gone back to the city since that time. So the Aquarius Festival was a great time, not only for what we shared in that moment, but for what's gone on since then and all the things that have happened since then. It's coming up to the 30th anniversary of the founding of the Terrania Forest Action Group, which went on to be the first group in history to liberate forests, the first group to change the law about forest protection. A great achievement by freedom in this community. And I think that's what we celebrate here at the MardiGrass as well, is that celebration of freedom, that feeling of ownership. When we came here, this was a ghost town. We bought, which was a wonderful thing for anti-war activists, we bought the RSL Club for $500. The Rainbow Cafe, that whole building cost us $1,000. The Hemp Embassy we bought for $1,000. So here it was, a community gathered and owned half the town. We had the freedom of the streets, and that's what we've always had, and that's what we keep needing to have. It's that freedom, that friendliness, that joyfulness, that belonging that is part of what we are in this community. And I celebrate that. And I'd hope that next year we might be able to invite the police with those beautiful horses, maybe dress them a little bit more gently, but join the parade, that share with us in the freedom of the streets. We've done no harm. We're here for good. We're here for kindness. Everybody share that kindness, join with us, and let's keep building community. That's the one precious thing this world needs now. The one thing we need now is kindness. Thank you very much.
This is my daughter Grace wants to say something.
Hello.
So, it's a big, kids are the best, but hippies with no TVs, mate, we've had heaps. Anyway, I got heaps. I got the museum out of control, I have the Hemp Embassy, and we're all going to take this big joint to Canberra tomorrow because John Howard is going to give Australia its first ever national cannabis strategy. Now there's a man who knows what he's talking about. My God, mate. He came to Lismore for that photo when Elspeth got him behind the head member there. And we asked him, well, what about farmers' hemp, John? Grow it instead of wood chipping or instead of cotton and all the pesticides or the seed is so nutritious. No, he said, true. Never heard of farmers' hemp? That's true, mate. It's the system. He's locked in Parliament House, mate. Hey, I think he only sees plastic flowers. That is a true story. I like that it's silenced you guys. It's shock value. Anyway, the police are searching someone up there right now, I think, behind there. Absolutely strip searching someone. Shame on them. And they will meet their karma. Anyway, we're not riding hippies, mate. Not the way you thought, anyway. Help me anyway. I'm into peace and love, mate, and I tell you what, if I was in Baghdad, I reckon I'd feel the same, wouldn't you? Bloody war, it is so dumb. And that line of "I'm just following orders" is a cop-out. Excuse the pun. Yes. I want to introduce you to another famous local, Lisa Yeates. That's who she is today anyway. You ready for this? She has been our Hemp Olympics Queen Mother. She has been the Ganja Fairy Queen Mother of all big time. And above all, many people, including the media, have used her in place of Princess Anne often. Thank you very much, Lisa.
I feel I'm sort of here really as a whim from Michael. I was just standing somewhere nearby at the Hemp Embassy. But also...
Dressed like this.
No. Then I made an effort. But what I'm here for really is replacing the beautiful Winifred, who used to speak for the Elder Women's Forum. And so, as I guess one of the self-proclaimed elder females of this community, and having been here for nearly 30 years, I'd just like to pass on to some of the people that have come here. For all of you that have known me all that time, you've heard all these stories 100 times. But for those of you that have come here against all odds, and I wouldn't want to go through that blockade at the road at Ganelaba, Gulmangar with police dogs smelling my car either. So look, you are so brave. So brave. And we're really dependent on you people to take this message back home. That this is what our life can be if we let it. If we let it go on, we can live with police and this fascist state that we've got to experiment. Now, only 4 years ago, I was telling all the crowd standing here again that this is what it felt like when there was no prohibition. When marijuana was something, we had demonstrations of industrial hemp and fabrics and seed and everything. And this is what hemp can do for this community, for this planet. And this is what it would feel like if there was no prohibition, because everyone was really happy. We were smoking pot, we were sharing it, seeds were being exchanged. So now, everybody, this is what it feels like when you live under oppression. And we have been oppressed here for the last... Since before Easter, we have had these boys. Now, the point being, this is what it's like in the city all the time, I understand. Around Redfern and places, this is how the police work now, in preparation for riot. As we were coming down the hill, there were 20 policemen protecting the police station. Or to make sure that the big joint didn't get lost, but unfortunately it didn't even make it that far, so it was all right. But they were there to stop the mistake if it could happen. And thank you very much. But it did seem a little silly when we got down here, where we could have all gone berserk if we were having the riot. If we were all going to have a riot, which is what we were told we were going to do, well, you'd think we would have had a few here just to look after the citizens that had come in all innocence to partake in this rally. So I find it interesting. And I also find it really illuminating. As Paul said, I'm one of the mob who back in the 70s looked at the fuel embargo, looked at what was going to come out of this world, looked at our total dependence on oil, and thought, this is wrong. Now the irony is, at that time, Australia owned its own resources. We don't own any now. We owned the oil resources here. We don't own any now. None of that money comes here. None of it. All the money. Coles and Woolworths own 80% of all retail industry of food. All that money goes out of the country. Our mission, I believe, seriously, is to reawaken the community, and the money stays with us. And I want you, please, to go back home and start looking at what the experiment here was about. Now, unfortunately, we're being sucked into this horrible world. And this world is in such crisis right now. We are looking at the most atrocious human injustice. We're looking at the most appalling things that 30 years ago, when we took to the streets and wanted to be peace, love and activite, or whatever, activists, it was to bring community and trust and unity and to live sustainably on this beautiful planet. And what have we got now? Abuse beyond belief. And we have, it was only 20 or so years ago, the endangered species in Australia listed or threatened was about 8. It's now something like 500, they announced. On the planet, sorry. And in Australia it's like 200. Now these things have gone on when the authorities have known about what's going to happen. And I know they've known because we've been going out there for 30 years and telling them over and over at the front lines with direct actions to save forests, to save water, to save air, to stop nuclear activity, to save human rights, and to maintain the proper way to live on this planet. And we've worked out a whole lot. And it's not just here in Nimbin, there are pockets all over the planet. And the lesson is we've got to start looking after ourselves and each other seriously. And the 3 R's: respect yourself, respect others, and take responsibility for your own actions. Take the money out of the insurance industry. Take the money out of the corporate sector. And make choices that mean the future for us all, because God help us, we haven't got much of a hope. If this government, this right-wing fascist government, gets back in the next election, that's it. Give up. What I'm saying to you is that we've got one more chance to bring around a rational world. A rational world. And please, please do what you can. If you are a public servant or involved by the government, involved working with the government, or any position where you are too afraid to come to Nimbin now that we've got a camera. We've got cameras in the street of Nimbin. This little funky peace town has cameras. And what's been interesting is that 50% of our business in the shops has gone. Because we realise people are now too afraid to come to Nimbin to get the little bit of pot that they used to smoke after work. The lawyers, the lecturers, the bankers, the real estate agents, all those people that used to come out here. And probably, well, we could have, it is alleged. Now that's really revealing to me, and so I would appeal to all of you who are public servants or work in the corporate sector or whatever, to please come out. This whole campaign, this rally, everything started when a gentleman called Bob Hopkins stood at the Shannon Market and brought out a cupboard and said, come on, get in the cupboard and come out again. And admit that you smoke pot. And that it's good for the planet, and it does more than just create, it's got so much going for it. And let other people tell you about that. Anyway, enjoy the riot.
Lisa for Prime Minister. I gotta tell you one more thing. I have so many things I want to tell you. I'll tell you. Every time I walk past that skate ramp there, the Nimbin skate park. Shame! It is a shameful thing, man. This is our local member, National... What's his name? Thomas George? Thomas National. I'm getting the body mixed up, see. I tell you, him and Ian Causley, we seriously need help, mate. And the $250,000 or the $500,000 spent on the police for our riot would have built that twice over, mate. That's shameful. It's shameful, mate. Jungle... there's some good people in the Premier's Department who want to get us funding for Jungle Patrol. We could have had 2 years daily Jungle Patrol on our streets for what they spent on the police this weekend. Steve Bolt. I want to introduce you to Steve Bolt. He's been giving legal advice sessions in the town hall over the weekend. He's a terrific guy. He used to work Redfern Legal Service, mate, for years. Getting $50 a week. You know those guys. Lawyers who do that. They're as rare as rocking horse shit.
Thank you, Mike. Happy Mardi Gras to everybody, each and every one of you. Don't do that anymore. Look, I'm not going to tell you all the reasons why the drug laws are stupid, you know that. Can't they hear me? I reckon they can hear what I'm talking about. I reckon they agree with me already and they can hear what I'm saying. I'm not going to tell you all the reasons. You know the reasons. You know why it's a stupid law, always has been, always will be. You know that it creates more crime than it causes. You know that it's your right, our right, to poison ourselves a little bit if we want to. If you want to smoke tobacco, if we want to drink beer, if you want to drink alcohol, if you want to smoke a joint, I reckon that's your choice. May not be the best idea. Sometimes it's not. There is a problem with psychosis. There is a problem with people smoking too much pot. Sure there is. I've got no problem saying that. There's a lot of trouble with people who drink too much alcohol. It's people who smoke too many cigarettes. Everything about drugs of any sort is dangerous if you do it the wrong way and okay if you do it the right way. Pretty much right, isn't it? Well, what's the law say? The law say everything you do about cannabis is illegal. Everything you do about alcohol is okay, as long as if you've got a pub, you've got to have a licence, okay. A few rules, a few regulations. You can't do this, you can't do that, but pretty much you can go and buy a beer if you want one. If you're a certain age, if you're not already intoxicated. There's a few sensible laws around alcohol. There are no sensible laws about marijuana. The laws about marijuana are left in the hands of the police to enforce. Some people at Mardi Gras this weekend have been very unlucky and have got little slips of yellow paper to make them go to court. To get fined in some way maybe, or some kind of penalty. We don't know how many, but a few. I've spoken to a couple of them. Now, how unlucky is that, getting busted at Mardi Gras for having 5 grams of pot? What's the world coming to? Well, every day the drug laws are enforced in a way that is selective. They have sniffer dogs hanging around Newtown Station every Friday, have done for years and years. Do they ever go to the North Shore? No. They take sniffer dogs down Oxford Street in Sydney pretty regularly. They take sniffer dogs to certain places where they know they might catch a few hippies and get a few people who might be not ordinary people. But do they go through the nightclubs that the stockbrokers go to and look for a bit of cocaine? No way. 2 new laws are about to be introduced. You know, the discussion about the drug laws and how stupid prohibition is has been going on for so long. Most of us have heard the argument so many times. I was thinking it's like, you know, sometimes you're at a party or something, it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're not stoned, you're straight, and you have the misfortune to talk to someone who's off their tree. And they're trying to convince you of something, and they tell you all these reasons. You say, no, what about this? It's like us talking to the government is like we're the straight people, and they're stoned as, and they're trying to explain what they're trying to do, and it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. If they want to send a message, what's the message? Is the message, if it's legal, it's good, if it's illegal, it's bad? Is that the message? Does that make tobacco good? Does that make alcohol good? No. What's the message? 2 new laws they're about to introduce later this year. First one is about roadside testing of drivers, saliva testing. Not yet introduced, not yet. Next year's Mardi Gras might be a very different thing. I reckon by next year's Mardi Gras will be in place. Random roadside testing, same as what they do for alcohol. And what they say is, you do a bit of a swab thing, and it's meant to indicate whether or not you've been using cannabis within the last 4 hours. That's what they say. Been doing something similar in Victoria. There's a few complaints that people have, you know, I didn't have a smoke since yesterday, still got busted. Who knows how reliable that technology is? That's about to come in sometime soon. Look, I've got to say, I've got no problem. I think there is a problem about people who smoke too much and drive cars. I think there should be a law that says if you're intoxicated with alcohol or with cannabis or with speed or anything else, you should not drive a car. That's a sensible law. Let's have some sensible laws about cannabis. I don't mind sensible laws about cannabis, but a law that says you cannot have a joint and then drive a car, and if you're intoxicated or not doesn't matter, when there is no proof at all that a particular indicator on a swab is going to indicate whether you're intoxicated or not, but only whether you've been smoking pot for 25 years. What does that prove? How does that improve the respect that all of us should have? I think, I'm a lawyer, pardon me for saying this, I think we should respect the law, but I think the laws should be made to be able to be respected. And stupid laws that are so obviously stupid are going nowhere. The second law they're about to introduce, also not yet written down, at least not released to the public, a law that makes it different for the number of hydro plants you grow compared to bush bloods. Oh, that's because they're stronger. 25 times stronger than, but come on. Is there a difference? I don't know. I'm not convinced. Is there any evidence? I haven't seen it. Where's it coming from? It's coming from the same mindset that says cannabis is a bad thing. Young people smoke cannabis, they think differently. We don't want that to be happening. It is an attempt, pure and simple, to stop people smoking. That's not a secret. They've been saying they're trying to do that for years. But it's just trying to tweak the system to make it a bit more hard. Because most people in the cities, sadly, don't have this lovely open space to share. And a lot of the pot that gets sold in the big cities comes from is grown under lights. A lot of the pot that's around here is apparently grown under lights. Well, what's the difference though in strength? What's the difference in the psychotic producing value? None. None. But they make a law that says if you, when they introduce this apparently, if you grow 6 or 7 plants or whatever it might be hydro, the maximum penalty you're looking at is now 10 years jail. Now what is that? That is, did I say stupid before? I'll say it again. How are we going to stop this? I don't know. We've been coming here for years. It's good that people come in so many numbers. All the announcements before Mardi Gras, oh, there's going to be cops everywhere. Watch out, it's getting tough.
We're not scared.
Well, we might be scared a little bit, but mostly we're determined. Mostly we're determined to keep fighting until this law changes, and mostly we're determined to go back home if we don't live here and to tell our friends and our relatives and our workmates and to make sure that the word is not snuffed out, whatever laws they bring in, whatever police powers they have, whatever police powers they have to stop and search you, whatever police numbers they can put on the streets at Nimbin, however many horses they can have, we will not be moved, except we will be moved forward.
Does she look like a criminal? She wants to know if she looks like a criminal, guys. Is that a criminal? Hey! She is. She's telling us she's a criminal. Bless her heart, mate. The poor, everyone knows I'm a walkover in Nimbin, you know. The poor old police. They're not that dumb. They got these voices in their head saying, mate, this is terrible, you know, these poor hippie people. There's real criminals out there. Oh, I saw that Ganja Faeries, she was beautiful. I got these poor guys, they gotta go home. Forgive them, I think they know not what they do. It's a tragedy, mate. At the same time, you gotta be strong. We are it. You know, the gods and goddesses, mate, have a look at yourselves. We're making the planet. Own it. You guys in blue, you've sold out. The Greens Greens, Lee Rhiannon would be here if she could. Every year the Greens have some big thing in Sydney on this first weekend. John Kay was here yesterday. Some of you might have met him. In the next Senate election, you can vote for him. He's terrific. He knows more about pot than anyone. Thank God he didn't get to Parliament House too early, mate. This is Andy Putnam. He's here sort of representing the Greens, a long-time local member of the MardiGrass organising body since it began.
Drug war goes on around me. Will I get hit this year? The pressure mounts as the plants grow. Whispers abound. What do they know? We will resist whatever they throw. Whatever they miss is what we let grow. I'm not alone, friends, tell me quick. Chopper at home, I feel quite sick. But I just don't let them come in. I simply won't ever give in. This is no drill I execute. War seems so real. Hope they don't shoot. Injustice burn, passion increase. Till we can turn war into peace. Till Harvest Fest, Mardi Gras Day, herb is the best, what do you say? Plant the seed, pick the crop, share the weed, tell the cops. Pot must be free. Now that's the sort of passion you need to be a Green. The Greens are out there, they're saying harm minimisation is not the answer. The Greens are out there about refugees, you've seen them about Timor, they're out there. Lee Rhiannon and John Kay are great people. They're 1 and 2 on the next state election. The election's in March. I didn't know that till the other day. In March we've got to get ourselves together. There's a local branch here in Nimbin, there's a local branch in Lismore. Definitely go Green, it's the way of the future. I implore you, I ask you, come along to a meeting, have a great Mardi Gras, you're all wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks for everyone supporting us.
This is another Mardi Gras organiser, Hemp Embassy member, legend. We have to draw the raffle for the people going to the Cup who win one of the rare picks. All the Ganja Faeries have to pick one each and come back to go with their number. Could they get that together, please? Thank you very much. The Damiana Cup. I want to introduce you to another guy, local guy. Great cat. Nimbin, mate. I tell you, you guys, you know, no wonder people like Nimbin. Every black sheep in Australia has come here. This is Gary, also known as Big Bong. Look it up on the internet. It's him who said, Michael, you are taking the big joint to Canberra. I started telling you this story with Gracie. Then I lost my track. You know how it goes with Damiana. And I'm so busy I can't go to Canberra tomorrow. We are taking the big joint to Canberra, even if we take it to Ian Causley, our local member. Gary is going to tell you about it. The joint was lucky to be here. You could see it was half built. A dozen people helped him frantically for the last 2 hours. Thank you to all the volunteers, but especially that dozen. All the volunteers. You know who you are, guys. You could stand up, but everyone would be nearly standing up out the back there. And you're tired. Sit down. It's volunteer energy that makes this. Not many festivals have that sort of energy these days, mate. Is Gary?
No, Gary's going to let
Oh no, Gary's still be going there. Anyway.
Here we go. Each of the fairies have got a ticket, and we're going to start with... Oh, I need my reading glasses on. I got a little away from Miami glasses. Okay, first drawn out is BOMS, Bombs, Kim 2, B6, Green. Gather over here if you've got winning tickets, please. Number. Next is E52, Dane M. Someone's happy. Okay, next up is E16. Stephanie with E16.
That's my mummy.
That's Mum's one. And that is E9. Dayan, D-A-H-O-N, 8E. They're all green. They're all green tickets. So that's green E9. All green. Oh, look at this one. We've got Claude, and it's E1. Claude, I won't say surnames out loud because our friends are there. They're going to be following me. Okay, E22, Dave V. B2, Gary. I'm not saying your surname either, but it starts with a W. Gary W. B2. Now, I told you all to hold your ticket. You need to have your ticket.
B2 works for the ABC, mate. B2.
E4. And it got ripped in half. And it's a Jessica. Jessica M. Another one. Oh, she's happy. There. Broke in half, that one. And here we go. We've got Jeanette, and it's an E13. Jeanette, E13. We have E41, Donald L, E41. And now we have B20, Scott K. And the last one, I hope your name's there. Last one is Morgan H. I'm not going to say your surname either. E14, Morgan H. So gather together over here and we'll go for a nice walk somewhere. Thank you everyone for supporting the Nimbin Hemp Embassy to be able to put this fabulous festival on.
Thank you, Betty. There's been some great stories out of Mardi Gras. I tell you, the creativity and humour in Nimbin is what keeps us alive, and the energy, mate. There will be, Steve's right. There'll be saliva testing next year, I betcha, and sniffer dogs. All that high-tech stuff's catching up with us herbal hippies. Well, meanwhile, seeing this coming, see that hill over there, you guys, you know how far that is, some of you locals. The tunnel from behind that hill has been completed for 2 years now. No one ever needs to worry about bringing Ganja to Nimbin. We've got it sorted out, It's like taking coals to Newcastle getting searched coming to Mardi Gras, I reckon. Anyway, it's just pathetic. We were so sick of the street. Look, I'm like anyone who comes here and gets asked to buy marijuana 30 times before they've got to a coffee shop and there's 15 of them. No one wants that. No one wants kids selling pot. We want regulated, organised, quality control, fair price. Get real. Next week's the budget. $10 billion cannabis turnover a year, mate. That's $1 billion Costello threw away. And lucky he didn't get busted because he smoked, I reckon. As far as I know, he wouldn't be in Parliament, mate. You cannot work for the government once you're busted. It is pathetic. I've got to get off this thing. Here's Gary.
Hey! Actually, my official title is Max Stone, the non-official spokesperson from the radical fringe of the Australian Cannabis Law Reform Movement. Try saying that very quickly 420 times. Anyway, the big joint to Canberra. Everybody, look at your watches. If anybody's wearing illusion monitors, you'll see that the time now is about 15 seconds to 4:20, so all the Damiana joints out there, get ready, it's our traditional 4:20. We had a bit of trouble getting the joint made today because we had to get it ready before 4:20. We're used to finishing things at 4:20, we had to be done by 3:05 or something, so we finished at 4 minutes 20 seconds after 3 o'clock. Anyway.
Where's 420 come from? Tell them in a minute.
Does everybody know about 420? 420 is like a code word that you use to say cannabis smoking. Like you just say you're working in a job. You don't know how many people out there are smokers, and at 2:30 in the afternoon you say, gee, it's almost 2:20. 4:20. And they go, what? And you say, don't you know what 4:20 is? And they go, no. And you go, oh, okay. End of conversation. There's so many reasons why there's 420. The reason we took it on him here in Nimbin is because it's got 42 in it, which Hitchhiker Guide that goes to people up. Anyway.
420.
It's 420.
You're up to everything for 420.
Hey, now what happens now at 420 all over the earth, right up to the east coast of Australia right now, there's people lighting cannabis like a big wave of peace, right? It happens every hour, 420 past the hour, all the way around the world. On our internet websites we have little robots that tell us when the 420s are coming up. We do it like a little thing. It's a peace wave that just goes round and round and round, and one day, like for example, when we get to Canberra with our big joint, when we get there at 4:20 in the afternoon, I wouldn't be surprised if there's already a 420 culture working outside Parliament House. I wouldn't be surprised if I can go out there, stand there somewhere, and there'll be people there, the security guards, politicians, all just stand around chuffing 420 at peace with each other. We probably run the company and we don't know. Anyway. We have the choice. We can either go down now and try and tack ourselves on the budget and this other cannabis thing, or we can take a bit of time and go down and get there on May the 22nd. We've had so much trouble getting ready to get down there that I half don't want to go and do a rush mission. But if the crowd of MardiGrass insists that we leave tomorrow at 11, we will. But otherwise, we'd probably like to stay till the 18th of May or something and then go bigger down there than we are. Because we've only got a little joint, even though it looks big, it's not quite as big as I wanted. So, yeah, you talk.
We need a decision here. I think he wants you guys to decide for him. He's a family man, you know. Now, Gary, he's a family man whose whole life, attention he gives his kids, keeping the car together, the whole thing is in jeopardy because of stupid prohibition.
Yes, prohibition, but I want to get it done, you know. We've been trying so hard for so long, it's just we can't seem to get dialogue with the politicians. We do know they read our websites. I hope everybody here reads our websites. Hey,
what is it?
How many people here have got internet access? Oh, case closed, bigjoint.org, right?
Is it worth taking the big joint to Howard? Well, there you go. I thought the bloke had sort of earplugs in or something. It's still worth it. Mate, we'll do it in Nimbin time. We're going to get there.
When? Should we go tomorrow, or can we have some days off, clean up the place, get better prepared, more work on the joint? Or do we have to go tomorrow?
Let him clean up his act first. Absolutely. Agree? Yeah!
And who's coming? Come on, put your hands up. Come on. One. Not a big crowd. One. Yes! 2, 3. Come on. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you're from Canberra, you can do work there. Come on. Who's going? Good, I've got a friend in Canberra too. We need all the friends in Canberra we can get right now. So anyway, pick it up, spread it around and think about it. We've had some great parties in Canberra in front of Parliament House. I'd love some Damiana. Thank you.
Another local man, he's Rusty Harris. Thank you very much, Rusty. Rusty, you know, the councils, Lismore Council, I like to thank them as well as all the volunteers. They get paid. By the way, Gary's right about the 420 thing. Government, they're starting to finish days' work on the rosters at 4:15. Have you noticed that? It's a new thing coming in. 4:15 finishes. 4:20. Rusty is the only place who kept his whole food place immaculate, I heard. I bet there were a few others. Recycled everything up at the NRMA chill. Have a word, Rusty. You want it?
Yeah. Well, my grandfather was an Anzac and a digger, and that's why I'm here really, but we're here for the trip, so I just get down to Canberra, do the right thing. Yeah, what can I say, mate? I got done by the sniffer dogs 23 times to court over 4 years. We had festivals nearly every time. No permission, we just did it. That's what you got to do these days, you just do it. Walk your talk. Put up or shut up. Thank you.
Someone just said Damiano's $200 an ounce up the street today. No. Now here's a man who's serious about his cause. Andrew Katelaris, he's been here every MardiGrass for, I think, long time, longer than I can remember. And he's been pushing the line heaps down in Sydney. He's grown the only legal medical cannabis I know in New South Wales. And lots of industrial crops. Anyway, I think that, he's annoyed them and they're out for him and he's going to tell you about it. And he got busted last night here at MardiGrass. I haven't heard of one arrest at MardiGrass. Anyone heard of an arrest? Lots of cautions, lots of, what do you call it? Lots of court attendance notices. No arrest. Any arrests? No arrests. It is such a riot. Mate. Dr. Andrew Katelaris.
Now, hello everyone. It's been reasonably, maybe not the best MardiGrass. Now, I was born in 1955, which people who are old enough to know, that was, for the people born then, the conscription of sending young 19-year-old Australian males to Vietnam to suffer sort of chemical contamination and moral contamination by having to sort of go to war with third world countries. And the movement there was to burn the draft card. The draft card was a lottery ticket you got in reverse to the Cannabis Cup. If your number came up, off you went to the jungles of Vietnam. And the protest then was to burn your draft card. Well, I did get a court attendance notice last night. 7 of them turned up. Anyway, there it goes. If I can't do it with... I got better ones than that. I got much better ones than that. Now, back on Australia Day, ironically, the year before last, 30 police turned up. I only got 7 this time, but 30 police turned up and individually pulled up and counted, which I'm surprised they could actually manage, 48,355 plants. But they managed because they could tie them into bundles of 100. You know what they did after that? Despite the fact that it had rained all day, they untied each bundle of 100 and 10 of them spent the day throwing them onto a fire that they fed with gasoline and timber. Cannabis does cause psychosis, mate. It's Canberra, the whole lot, it causes psychosis. Now, the purpose of doing that activity of growing an unlicensed hemp crop was to actually test where the boundaries of these laws are. There's some tantalising inclusions in the Drugs Misuse and Trafficking Act which allow fibre. One of the exemptions from what they call cannabis leaf, and remember, cannabis leaf is heads, leaf and seed. It's just the way they define things. But fibre without drug is specifically exempted. Now, also, because of the efforts of a lot of activists in 1999, hemp seed oil and hemp seed products were also exempted, although most of the people in the judiciary and certainly the police just refused to accept it, even when you hold the law up, hold the law books up in front of their eyes. They simply won't accept it. And we're tussling over the possession of 42 kilos of seed at this moment, but I do hope to get it back shortly. Anyway, I have since been convicted. The judge assured the jury there was no difference between a plant grown for fibre purposes and a plant grown for drug purposes. And the population at this stage, I regret to inform, and here we're not looking at that sort, Australia's got a lot of sheep, and on that day 12 of them wandered into the jury pen and did exactly what the wolf in Judge's Clothing told them to do. He said, you must convict. Cannabis is cannabis is cannabis. We're dealing with some fairly closed minds and hard opinions here. Now let's go back a little more. Back in 2000, Mr. Carr, whose name literally will live in infamy, said no decent government can stand by while people suffer when cannabis could relieve their suffering. Now, I stood by for 2.5 years, writing letters to Mr. Carr constantly. We got no response at all, and then out of the depths of his insular office came these words: cannabis can only be smoked, there's no other way of giving it, and we'll never have smoking as a medical product. My response to that was to go onto the Katelaris TV show with some of the tincture that had been developed by some of the sort of the caring and compassionate activists out there who grow excellent cannabis and turn it into a very, very effective tincture for use in a range of medical products. We went on there with some of the sick patients to demonstrate that these things are a reality. It's not something we just talk about, they're actually a reality now. And the response by that was being called into the medical tribunal. Now, if I thought the judge was a bad man, the guys in the tribunal must have sort of cut their milk teeth pulling wings off butterflies and things like that. They're seriously unpleasant and deranged people. I thought the medical board, the medical tribunal, in fact the medical system ran on science. That's always what they're talking about, evidence-based medicine. Where's your data? And things like that. There's a massive body of data come out of England now with the excellent work of GW Pharmaceuticals. Thousands of people are being treated now for interest. And all this carping about cannabis and psychosis, I take a contrary view. I have exceptionally rare cases of cannabis-associated psychosis, but in thousands of medical patients given pure product in a relaxed situation, there's no problem whatsoever. George Patton he was a professor of adolescent health from Adelaide University, wanted to get his little 5 minutes of fame. So he actually produced a paper saying teenage girls that took cannabis ended up depressed in later life. And that achieved an enormous amount of publicity, and now all the teenage girls are wandering around wondering when the depression's going to hit. I was invited to debate the facts with him, so I checked his papers very carefully. And what he had established was that teenage girls that use cannabis and get arrested and get a criminal record end up depressed. Now, you don't need to be a genius.